Fred's shift ended at midnight, like always, quiet, routine. The diamond was still in its case, blinking under the velvet lights. He tapped the glass once, like a ritual. By morning, it was gone, no broken locks, no alarms. Just silence, and the weight of blame hanging over him. "I checked everything," Fred whispered, his voice shaky. The manager stared back, cold and quiet. The police arrived before the sunrise. In that moment, Fred realized, it's not just a diamond missing. It's trust, it's reputation, it's his life on the line. The Penthouse had 15 staff members. Cleaners, concierge, chefs, private attendants. All under one roof, all with keys to every floor. No break-in. No footage. That meant one thing: someone inside had done it. The security footage had a gap, 12 minutes of black screen. No glitch reported, no backup retrieved. Just darkness. And in that darkness, $1 million diamond vanished without a trace. Fred sat in the break room, alone. "They'll put me in prison," he muttered. He was 54, with a daughter in college, a wife recovering from surgery. He didn't need money. He needed truth. But truth was nowhere near. Down in the staff quarters, Marco, the Penthouse's junior concierge, scrolled through the news headlines, smiling faintly. No footage, he said to himself. No proof. No trace. Just fear. Just enough to get me what I want. Marco had always hated Fred. Too perfect, too trusted. The only way up, he believed, was by pulling someone else down. He didn't steal the diamond to get rich. He did it to replace Fred. He hid the diamond inside the security locker, Fred's locker. Locked it under Fred's own code. The irony, the perfect setup, made him grin. If they searched it, Fred would go down. If they didn't, it would stay lost forever. Imani, the housekeeper, cried behind the linen carts. Why would anyone do this, she asked. Her brother had once been framed for a crime at his job. Now she feared history might be repeating. Only this time, closer. Detective Laura arrived at noon. Calm, observant, surgical in her questioning. Who had something to gain, she asked. Not who hated Fred. But who wanted his job. That's where betrayal blooms, in motive, not malice. Fred watched the investigation unfold like a bad dream. He begged for the locker to be opened. Check mine, he said. Just check it. But the manager said no. Not without a warrant. That makes you look more guilty. Imani visited Fred during his break. I believe you, she said quietly. You're too scared to be guilty. Her voice broke. My brother had the same eyes when they arrested him. And Fred cried. For the first time. Marco began spreading quiet rumors. Maybe Fred's wife needed the money, he whispered near the elevators. Surgeries aren't cheap. And people listened. Because doubt spreads faster than fire. The Penthouse guests started asking questions. Is our jewelry safe? Should we move hotels? The board grew anxious. They needed a scapegoat. And Fred was standing too close to the fire. One morning, Imani entered Marco's room by mistake while cleaning. His locker was half open. She saw something strange, a second security badge. One only Fred was supposed to have. She froze. Why would Marco have that? Imani didn't say anything yet. She needed more. She began quietly following Marco. Not with her feet, but with her eyes. What he touched. Where he lingered. And slowly, a pattern formed. He always hovered near the lockers. Meanwhile, Fred was called into a meeting. We're suspending you, the manager said. Pending investigation. Fred nodded. He didn't argue. Didn't plead. He simply walked out, quiet, with a final look at the diamond's empty stand. Outside the Penthouse, Fred stood by the fountain, tears streaming. He felt the world crumble. What do you do, he whispered, when truth isn't enough? What would you do if you were a character in this play? Marco was offered Fred's position temporarily. And he took it, smiling politely. I'll keep the place secure, he said. We can't afford more mistakes. It was the lie he'd prepared for weeks. Imani finally told Detective Laura about the second badge. Marco has one. Just like Fred's. Laura raised an eyebrow. You sure? Imani nodded. Saw it with my own eyes. Room 312. Behind his mirror. Laura searched Marco's room during his shift. No badge. No sign. Clean. Too clean. But she left behind something Marco didn't notice, a tiny pin camera aimed at his locker. Just in case he returned to check on the diamond. 2 nights later, Marco returned. At 2:13 a.m. He checked the locker. He stared at it, whispered something under his breath, then smiled. The camera caught every word, still here. Almost over. And Laura had what she needed. Fred was called back to the hotel. He thought it was to arrest him. Instead, Laura stood in front of him, holding a tablet. Watch this, she said. He watched Marco's betrayal play out in perfect, damning detail. Fred didn't cheer. Didn't smile. He just sank to the floor. Why me? He asked. Why would anyone do this? Laura looked away. People don't need reasons. Just opportunity. And jealousy. Marco was arrested at the front desk, in front of guests. The diamond was retrieved. Clean, untouched. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. Just glared at Fred, who stood silently across the lobby. The media frenzy was instant. Penthouse employee arrested in diamond theft. But none of the headlines said why he did it. No one cared about the promotion. Only the stone. Fred returned to work, but something inside him had changed. He checked locks 3 times. Avoided eye contact. The wound wasn't healed by truth. It was reopened by betrayal. Imani brought him tea during his shift. You're still good, she said. Even if people forget. I won't. Fred smiled faintly. That meant more than anything the hotel board could say. The manager offered Fred a raise. To make it up to you, he said. Fred declined. Money won't fix it. Just give me honesty next time. That silence that followed said more than words ever could. Marco's trial was quick. He confessed to everything. It wasn't about the diamond, he said. It was about Fred. I wanted him out. I wanted more. And in that confession, every motive came to light. No one visited Marco in prison. Not even his family. Imani did once. Why? She asked. You could have earned your place. He shrugged. Earning takes too long. The diamond returned to its display, brighter than before. But no one stopped to admire it anymore. Not like before. Because now, it carried a different shine, the shine of a lie uncovered. Fred began journaling. Truth is heavier than guilt, he wrote. Because you carry it alone while everyone suspects you. Page after page, he poured his pain into silence. One evening, a child guest asked Fred, "Did you catch the thief?" Fred looked down, smiled gently. He caught himself. The child nodded, satisfied. Sometimes, that's enough. Imani was promoted to head of housekeeping. Fred cheered quietly from the corner. She deserved it. Not because of what she knew. But because of who she was when no one else stood up. Fred and Laura had coffee once a month. Not as detective and suspect, but as people who remembered the cost of silence. They laughed. They talked. And once, Fred said, "Thank you for believing in shadows." The Penthouse remodeled the security system. New cameras. New locks. But trust, Laura said, that's harder to fix. You can't install it. You earn it. Slowly. Marco was forgotten. His name erased from rosters, records. But not from Fred's mind. Forgive, someone once asked Fred. Not yet, he replied. But maybe one day. The diamond wasn't the most valuable thing in the penthouse. It was belief. And for a while, everyone had lost it. But piece by piece, they were rebuilding it. Guests came and went. Stories faded. But staff remembered. How quickly one man's ambition almost destroyed them all. It was a quiet lesson. One they whispered during closing shifts. Fred looked in the mirror now and then, tracing the lines on his face. "You're still here," he'd say. "Still standing. That's something." And that was enough. Imani sometimes left small notes on Fred's desk. "You matter. We see you." He never said thank you. But he kept every one, folded neatly in his locker. Laura wrote a report titled Trust and Treason, the diamond that was never lost. It won no awards. But Fred read it every December. Like a ritual. Like closure. The penthouse was silent again. But not with fear. With peace. Because sometimes, justice doesn't roar. It whispers. It lingers. It breathes. Fred found the courage to tell his daughter everything. She cried. Then hugged him. "You taught me what strength is," she said. And he finally believed it. One guest left behind a note. To the men who stood tall through the storm. "Your story changed me." Fred kept it under glass. Right beside the diamond. Imani now trained new staff. "Watch everything," she said. "Not just the guests. Watch each other. For good. For warning. For truth." Marco's name never came up again. But Fred still remembered his smile. The kind that hides a blade. It kept him sharp. Kept him humble. And when Fred finally retired, the staff gathered around. No fanfare. Just a hug. A cake. And silence. The good kind. The diamond still sits under the glass. Still blinking under velvet lights. But it's not the gem that draws people anymore. It's the story behind it. The story of truth, betrayal, and redemption. The story of a man named Fred.